Planning delays don't just slow a scheme down, they can add holding costs, trigger redesign work, and leave your application stuck between planning ambition and highway authority concerns. That's where transport planning comes in. It often makes the difference between a smoother approval path and a costly regulatory deadlock. A transport planner is a technical consultant who helps make sure a development can work safely and acceptably on the transport network around it. This isn't about consumer route planning or journey apps. It's about access, traffic impact, parking, servicing, visibility, and how a site performs in the real world. In practice, transport planners sit between the design team and the highway authority. They translate planning proposals into evidence that councils can assess. That means spotting risks early, shaping layouts before they become expensive to change, and helping developers submit schemes that are far more likely to stand up to scrutiny. During the planning process, a transport planner builds the evidence base that shows how your scheme will affect movement to and from the site. That can include access strategy, trip generation, parking demand, servicing arrangements, and the likely impact on nearby junctions and streets. They also liaise with planning officers and highway teams so technical issues are addressed before they turn into formal objections. When that engagement happens early, you avoid the familiar pattern of late comments, reactive redesigns, and decision delays that could have been prevented. So the role isn't just to write a report, it's to help keep the planning case technically credible from first concept through to determination. One of the first questions is what level of transport reporting your scheme actually needs. For many smaller or lower impact proposals, a transport statement is used to describe existing conditions, likely effects, and why the development is acceptable in transport terms. A transport assessment goes further. It's typically needed where impacts are more material and a fuller technical appraisal is required. That can mean deeper analysis of trip generation, junction effects, access strategy, sustainable travel, and mitigation measures to support the planning case. To forecast trips credibly, transport planners often use TRIX, the industry database for comparing similar sites and estimating likely vehicle movements. Choosing the right report matters because an underpowered submission invites challenge, while an overly heavy one can waste time and budget. A good transport planner doesn't stop at policy wording. They test whether the site actually works on the ground. Swept path analysis checks whether the vehicles your development depends on can enter, turn, and leave safely without design conflicts. Parking surveys help show what demand already exists nearby and whether your proposed parking provision is likely to be realistic. Traffic surveys provide the baseline for understanding flows, peak periods, and where development traffic may create pressure on the local network. Visibility displays then test whether drivers and other road users have the sightlines needed for safe access. Put together, this analysis can prove viability early or expose problems while they're still affordable to fix. Transport planning also matters well beyond the application documents because highway and infrastructure obligations can shape cost, timing, and deliverability. Section 278 agreements usually relate to works on the existing public highway, where off-site changes are needed to support the development. Section 106 obligations can secure transport measures or contributions linked to planning impacts and mitigation. Section 38 agreements come into play where new roads are intended for adoption, which has direct implications for design standards and approvals. These aren't issues you want to discover too late, once layouts are fixed and commercial assumptions are already baked in. Early pre-application discussion with local authorities helps surface expectations sooner, negotiate practical solutions, and reduce friction later in the process. For developers, the value is straightforward. Early transport planning support helps protect program, budget, and planning outcomes before avoidable issues turn into delays and redesigns. If you're preparing a scheme, bring in professional transport planning support early and give your application a stronger path to approval. It can save time, reduce risk, and help you move forward with far greater confidence.